Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy Valentine's Day. I thought it would be fun today, kind of in celebration of Valentine's Day, which by the way, I don't get that excited about, but Valentine's Day themed makeup like pinks and purples and peaches, I love so very much. So I thought we would celebrate Valentine's Day by doing a couple different looks using some palettes that I would be willing to bet many of you own. So I picked out 3 palettes that kind of have like a Valentine sort of feel to them. We're gonna do 3 different looks. I'm gonna show you guys some options, whether you're celebrating Valentine's Day or not. These are looks that I think would be pretty any time of year. And also use a couple of palettes that I really love and I think you guys might love as well. Should be fun. Hope you guys are excited. Let's get into it. But before we do, a very special welcome to any of my new visitors here. Very happy to have you here at my channel. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you'll consider subscribing and make sure notifications are turned on. And with that said, let's get right to the palettes. Okay, so let's just go through the 3 different palettes that I have picked up. 2 of these I'm pretty certain many of you will own. They're kind of long-time favorites. The Soft Glam palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills and then also the Sweet Talk palette from ColourPop. Not one that I have used for quite a while, but I love both of these palettes. Then the third look that we're going to do is using the Natasha Denona Mini Love palette. I love this palette. I actually love this one a lot more than the original Love palette, but it's been a while since I have used this one, and I do have a drugstore alternative for this one. It's not an exact dupe, but the color stories are very similar. It's the Wet n Wild Color Icon palette in Petalette. When we get to that third look, I will share with you guys some swatch comparisons with this palette because they're not exactly the same, but there are a lot of similarities. Call me crazy, but I might even like the Petalette one a little bit better, at least with the shimmery shade. It's so pretty. Sorry, my hands are a mess. I've already started swatching. A lot to get through, so we'll jump right into it. So for the first 2 looks, we're gonna do one on this side. We'll do the Sweet Talk palette on my right side and the Soft Glam palette on my left side, just to try and save my eyes a little bit. And then for the third and final look, we'll do the same look on both sides using the Natasha Denona Mini Love. So let's start over on the right and zoom guys in just a hair and we will get started with looks 1 and 2. Okay, let's start off with the Sweet Talk palette. Man, it's been a while since I've used this thing. I do think this is such a pretty palette. I remember when this released, so many people raved about this one. It is really fun if you like peach tones. To kick things off, we're gonna jump into this peach shade right here, which is the shade Dream Maker. Choose my Rephr brushes today. I'm gonna take this on my Rephr number 16 brush. We're gonna start applying this just up through the crease. These are the kind of shades that on their own, they can look a little bit vibrant, a little bit colorful and bold, but when you ground them with a darker like matte brown or burgundy, it tones them down while adding a little bit of depth. I love combining like a bold pop of color in the crease with a dark shade in the outer corner. It's one of my very favorite looks. So I'm kind of just layering this up mostly on the outer half of that outer corner and up through the crease. Hopefully you guys can see that bold color. I definitely can. So I'd love to know if any of you guys have some fun plans for Valentine's Day. Today's actually Monday that I'm filming this, and I have no idea what we have planned. Usually we'll just like go out to lunch or to dinner, either on Valentine's Day or the weekend before or after. Kind of feel like we're getting to that point though, my husband and I, where sometimes we just don't really think much about it altogether, which probably not a good thing. I think it's good to try and, you know, keep the love alive, celebrate holidays that you might get a little tired of celebrating. By the way, that was just the same shade with the Rephr number 2 brush. Let's add a little bit of depth by going into this shade right here, this kind of mid-tone brown. This is the shade West Side. I'm gonna take that same brush just on the tip of the brush. I'm gonna run that right in the crease. I'm gonna wipe off that smudge brush, the number 2, and we're gonna run that same shade on the lower lash line right on top of that peach that we already put down, but I'm just running this one about halfway in. Now I want to build up a little bit more depth, so I'm going to take the number 14 brush, just a smaller blending brush. We're going to go into this deep kind of cherry color. Such a pretty shade. We're going to just build that up in this outer corner. Let's add a little bit of this shimmer right here. This is the shade Garden Date. Kind of like a peachy coral. We're gonna run this on the outer half of the lid. Now we're gonna add a little bit of this Super Shock shade right here. This is the color Side to Side. I love this shade. Mine has a pretty good dent in it. Beautiful, beautiful color. And just run this on the inner half of the lid and then start to pull it out towards the center. Okay, this is actually going on so fast. I do want to add a little bit of glitter to the top. I don't always do this. There are 2 pressed glitters in here, but because it's a special occasion, we're gonna take just a tiny bit of this pressed glitter, which is Prima Drama. I'm just going to tap a tiny bit onto my finger. That's not much. And then we're just gonna put it, actually, let me grab something. Just wanna place a little cotton pad down below to avoid any chunky fallout. I'm just tapping this right on the center. Let's go over to the other side and give the soft glam a try. Then we'll add the liner and the mascara, look at the finished result. Okay, so for this side, we're gonna start off in one of my favorite shades, Dusty Rose, kind of a cooler tone shade. I just wiped off that same rougher brush. We're gonna run this up through the crease. If you really want some inspiration with this palette, I did do a 7 looks video with this palette. It was one of the last ones that I did, which I know it's been a little while. That was still a couple of years ago. But if you're looking for some inspiration from this specific palette, you can search back on my channel and pull that old video up. Let's add a little bit of depth. I don't want to go too warm. I'm gonna kind of stay away from some of these like warmer peaches, just so this looks a little bit more on the cool tone side. So we're gonna dip into this brown right here, which is the shade Cypress Umber. Actually, really quickly, before I do that, I just want to take this smudge brush and we're gonna run a little bit of Dusty Rose to the lower lash line. Now with that smaller blending brush, we're gonna go over to Cypress Umber, this dark matte brown. This is a very, very dark pigmented shade, so be very light-handed with it. And I'm very lightly just kind of barely feathering that under that lower lash line right at the outer edge. So quick and easy. Let's add a little bit of this deep shimmer, the shade Sultry. On my finger, I'm just gonna tap this on the outer half of my lid. Man, this palette is so good, you guys. I need to pull it into my stashes more often. And then we're gonna take the shade Glistening. I love this shade. It's kind of like a golden peach duochrome. And this we are going to run all over the inner half of the lid and then overlap that deeper shimmer. I really like these tones because they are cooler in tone, but they're not so cool that putting a gold or like a warmer shimmer with them looks off. It still goes together really nicely. All right, easy does it. Let's add a little bit of liner. I'm gonna take my Wet n Wild liner. I'm not gonna do this on my waterline because I do wanna wash my eyes off after this. It's much harder to wash my eyes and then reapply more makeup later if I have stuff on my waterline. So, oh geez, how long was that there? Sorry guys, that's gonna bug me. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit of this on both sides, just in a basic baby wing, just on the outer half of my lash line. Now I'm gonna add a couple coats of my Pat McGrath mascara. Then I'll zoom you guys out. We'll have a look at the finished look on both sides. Here are the first 2 looks finished. We have the Sweet Talk palette on this side. I'll insert a close-up of this one for you guys right here. And then this side we have the Soft Glam palette. Another close-up right here so you guys can see the difference between the 2. What do you guys think? Which one do you like better? I know they look similar. We are working with kind of soft pinks and purples, but I love them both. I love the vibrancy of this one, but I also love kind of the cooler tone of this one. I don't know. I can't really decide. Let me know your thoughts down below. Now I'm going to go wash this one off and then we'll come back and delve into the Natasha Denona Mini Love palette. Now for the third look, we're going to use the Natasha Denona Mini Love palette. Now I did mention that the Wet n Wild Petalette palette is a pretty good alternative or dupe for this one. It's not an exact dupe. I thought they were a little bit closer until I started swatching them, but I will insert for you guys right here some swatches of these 2 palettes side by side so you can see the similarities. You guys know if you've been watching me for a while that I really love these Wet n Wild palettes, and this Petalette 5-pound one is one of their best. So a great option if you don't have the Mini Love. But for today, we're just going to use this one. I'm going to start off by going into the light purple right here. That we're going to take on my rougher number 16 brush and just start adding that up through the crease. This is such a pretty palette. I would say this one is more purple than pink in tone than either of the other 2 that we used. So I'll have glitter particles that are kind of showing up on my eyes and face even after washing them off. No wonder I don't use glitter all the time. As pretty as it is, it's kind of a nuisance. Now for this side, same thing. I'm just kind of going up through the crease. So this one, I want to make it really nice and kind of smoky. We might do like a winged eyeliner on this one. So I want to put quite a bit of this initial color down because this one we're really going to smoke out with that dark purple shade. Also kind of pulling this one out a little bit further, and I'm even taking this big brush under my lower lash line with what's left. All right, now we're gonna deepen up that outer corner before we dip into the shimmer. So we're gonna take this dark purple here with the smaller number 14 brush. I'm really gonna apply this almost as like a liner, pulling it out a little further than I typically do. Now I want to go into this shade right here. This is the one that's kind of like a purpley pink with a gold reflect in it. And this we're gonna apply all over the center of the lid, out towards that outer corner. Actually, that's more like 2/3 of the way in. Now we're gonna take the lightest shade right here. And actually, let's use a brush for this. I'm gonna take my rougher number 3 brush, this little pinpoint brush. We're gonna apply this to the inner third of the lid and kind of inner tear duct area. I also want to put a little pop of this right beneath the arch of the brow, just barely. Not too much. I don't want this to be too bold or obvious. Now before we go to liner, I want to dip back into that dark purple with this smudge brush, my number 2 brush, and we're just going to run this right along the lash line, kind of feather it up just to pull back all that rich depth. Now for a quick wing liner with my Natasha Denona black gel liner. All right, now I'm gonna throw on a nice coat of my Milani Lash Extensions mascara. Then I'll zoom you guys out, we'll take a look at the finished look. And here it is, third and final Valentine's Day inspired makeup look. I really love this one. I love that like smoky outer corner. I love the liner on this one. I think that liner would have looked good on any of these makeup looks I did today. Can't go wrong with a classic winged eyeliner on Valentine's Day. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Happy Valentine's Day once again. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for watching today. Let me remind you one more time, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to do that before you leave. And I will see all of you very soon in my next video. Bye.